Sarah, you are the president of the Automotive Hall of Fame. You have the honor of leading this organization. Can you tell us a little bit about the Automotive Hall of Fame, its mission, and then what brought us to the opportunity to do an exhibit like Achievement?
Well, I'll say, so the Automotive Hall of Fame was founded in 1939 in New York as an association. Started awarding almost immediately, so we've been awarding for 80 plus years. We have 5 different awards, with induction being the highest honor. Our mission is to, of course, award incredible achievements in the automotive industry, and also to encourage all ages to higher levels of personal achievement, which we really internalize as an education mandate. In 2018, our board of directors led a recommendations and assessment project. 2018, the board of directors launched an assessment of the Automotive Hall of Fame. It was holistic in nature. One of the things that was looked at was the awarding, and we saw at that time we had 3 African American individuals inducted out of 279 inductees. So on our self-reflection, we really thought this can't be the whole story of African American contribution to the automotive industry. And that's what really launched this project, is saying, how do we go about cataloging and celebrating African American achievement in the automotive industry? When we proposed taking on this initiative, not having the team to execute it, I really thought it'd be a curation activity. And we curate, a couple thousand square foot of exhibitry to highlight individuals that have made incredible contributions into the automotive industry. We expected this to not only create exhibitry, but identify awardees and to really feed our education programs. That's being realized, but when we ideated this curation project, we got wonderful, generous support from General Motors, Lear, and Delta Dental to help us kick this off, to gather the team that we needed to start this project.
So Kathleen, you joined the team, you had the opportunity to really, lead the charge on this. So talk about that process of building the game plan for the exhibit, and even how you came up with the name Achievement, because I don't think it was right out of the gate that you knew what it was going to be called.
Yeah, we did not know right out of the gate what it was going to be called. As Sarah mentioned, when we started on this, we really thought that we were going to curate an exhibit, and we reached out to a number of different experts, a number of different advisors, to talk about how do we approach this, where do we find our leads, how do we curate the stories. And we were advised that it's going to be a very difficult project to accomplish, simply because a lot of the research has not yet been undertaken. It's a fact that there are significant accomplishments and contributions to this industry by African Americans and Black leaders, but the stories hadn't been researched and documented, and as a result, it's going to be very difficult to curate those stories. So at that point, we decided to take on the big task, do the big job. We committed ourselves to being able to tell these stories. We decided to do it sequentially. We realized that we weren't going to be able to tell all of the stories that need to be told in one fell swoop, simply because we were going to need to research them, identify these individuals. And so we brought in our historian, Mr. Robert Tate. We brought in our curator, Ryan Arnold Rembert, and our project manager, Melissa Terry. And so we were able to start pulling together these stories, but we knew that with our first exhibit, we could just get the ball rolling. Our ambition was to not be the only people who worked on these stories, so we did bring in partners like Motor Cities, advisors, and are working on expanding that group of individuals and organizations that can contribute to the story. The more that we worked on the stories of these 19 individuals in this exhibit, we kept finding ourselves talking about their accomplishments, what they achieved, what they were able to conquer, and we looked at a number of words like leadership and passion and perseverance. But the thing we kept coming back to was, I can't believe they achieved so much. And it was actually, Sarah and I were having a conversation in her office, and she said, why don't we just call it achievement? That's the word we keep using to identify these individuals. And it fit, it worked, we talked with the team, and that's where the name came from.
Well, so we mentioned bringing in a historian of great renown here, so Mr. Robert Tate, who's known the story because he's lived the story and has researched it for most of his life. So Bob, you can talk about the opportunity to contribute to an exhibit like this that you maybe didn't think it would ever happen. So what do you think about being able to be involved in a project like this and seeing it come to fruition?
Well, for me personally, 2 years ago, I had retired from the National Automotive History Collection, and I was thinking about beaches and blue skies and all of that. And so I get a call from Sarah with the Automotive Hall of Fame, and she told me about this project that they were doing and going to get involved in. So I have personally been doing automotive history since, I would say, I started collecting toys in 1965, 66, and then later that turned into collecting memorabilia in automotive history. So my experience is that I work with General Motors, I work with the National Automotive History Collection, I work with various other companies as consultants or whatever. So this is pretty much a chapter in my life, and I think in everybody's lives, who see this exhibit, because it's important. You know, many of the individuals have passed away, but it's important that we remember their contributions, like McKinley Thompson, Ed Rover, and others who contributed to this exhibit. For many, many years, I have looked at road stories with automotive, agendas and things like that regarding automotive history, even with Motor Cities. I'm consulted with Motor Cities as well. And I walked in here one day and tears came out of my eyes to see the men and women up on these walls that I have seen pretty much all my life, but it has now, the paper has fallen from the book and has fallen into the hands and the news media of people from all over the world to see this. And I think the contributions should always be remembered, not just for Black men, but for Black women, and not just for the Black community, but all the communities as well, because this is a part of not just the Black history, but it's a part of American history. And for the first time, the stories are being told.
An automotive term, you take the concept and you want to go from concept to reality, or concept to production, and that's where Ryan comes into this discussion, which is the curation of this exhibit and sort of taking that concept and making reality and going out and finding the stories and the artifacts that complement them and making sure that you're fact checking and fact finding. So Ryan, tell us about the process of some of the people you met and the artifacts and stories that you uncovered, and how hard or easy was it for these people to share after all these years?
Yes, so when I first got here, I was a bit overwhelmed just hearing that none of this research had been done, but I saw the amazing research that Kathleen and Dr. Evans and Bob did, so I already knew that they made a good foundational pathway for me to curate. So curating this exhibit was actually pretty interesting, especially with like a few people. So for example, the CR and Frederick Patterson. Of course, we had a buggy and we had relationships with the previous, because they were inducted, but it was so fun uncovering new things. So we actually got access to their family Bible, and a narrative about them that is out is that they were, C.R. Patterson was born a slave, but because we were able to build relationships with their family and get access to that family Bible, we actually found out that he was not born a slave. In fact, he was born free, and it's also, they also believe that his parents were born free. So that's not only just playing a part in this exhibit, but kind of doing that revisionist history of this story that a lot of people are starting to be interested in. Another individual we went to was John James. I don't know, when we were walking into, we thought maybe a few plaques, a few, letters, but walking into Mr. James' office and seeing a room full of artifacts and awards and letters was very, to me, it was very interesting, but also it was powerful because, like as mentioned before, a lot of these stories are not archived, or they're they're hidden, or they're private, or the family likes to keep them to themselves. So a lot for him to allow us to have access to all those awards and all those archives, it helped us better tell the story. And that's a lot of, I found that with a lot of people, even well-known people like Mr. Wilburn. He's pretty well-known, but even some of the artifacts he gave us access to, some of his first drawings of the cars that he made, and a lot of them look like the Aerotech or the Cutlass that he, created. Just very interesting sides of people that we're so used to seeing the professional side, or we're so used to seeing the face that is out to the public, but actually seeing these items these people had and to tell their story was very interesting, and it allowed us to see another side of them and allowed us to see their journey and how they really not only just contribute to the automotive industry, but their journey over time and the trajectory they took in order to be a part of the automotive industry.
So we want to talk about the traveling aspect of the exhibit. So the exhibit's gone beyond the four walls of the Automotive Hall of Fame. So talk about the places that you're working with, that you're sending the exhibit out to, and some of the ways that you're complementing the information that they can see here.
Yes, when Ryan and I first started reaching out to libraries and schools to get the traveling exhibit booked up, we had a very overwhelming response back. Everyone was really excited. We got great partners. We have been to Northwood University. We started there. It has been to Trenton Memorial, Royal Oak, and it's going to go to Southfield next. We have great feedback. We also built a curriculum and a lecture series around it. So we also have been traveling with that as well.
So how far do you want to go with the traveling exhibit, some of the interest groups?
Yes, I think when we first talked about it, we talked about the traveling exhibit traveling for a year. But after we got the response, the feedback that we got, we decided that we'll just keep it traveling. We are also going to go to New York Auto Show in April. So that'll be coming up. And yeah, we have a lot more places to.
This past November, the Automotive Hall of Fame received the Motor City's Award of Excellence in Education and Interpretation. So Kathleen, talk about that moment when the hall was called up and what you felt when you went up to accept the award on behalf of your team.
I think we all were super excited. We had put a lot of effort in this, and not. I mean, it's hard to eliminate every person who worked on this. Our board were big advocates of this endeavor. Sarah Cook put an enormous amount of effort. Our development team, alumni relations worked on this. So Marguerite Porcroy and Tasma Brents. And then we had team members who are still with us, team members who kicked us off. Dr. Kyla Evans and I worked closely. We told a story that we're passionate about, something that we believe is important. It's historically important, not just in Detroit, but all over this country and all over the world. And when we received this award, it was so exciting to have that positive reinforcement, that validation of the efforts that we've employed, the recognition that we had done something important, and we'd done it well. So it meant an enormous amount to us.
Talk about the future, like the game plan for how you're going to continue to move the achievement exhibit forward. Episode 2, 3, and how are you finding new stories to tell and ways to present?
We're using community feedback actually to drive the subject matter for the next episodes. So the next exhibit that we stand up will focus on labor and marketing, and the one after that will focus on innovations and inventors.
And for those watching this, how can they find information? Because there is an online component, so tell them about the website and stuff.
Right, so you can come to automotivehallofFame.org. You can email us, kdonald@thedrivingspirit.org, to share information about any individuals who you think should be included in this. If you go there, you can find the achievement online exhibit. You can also find information about the traveling exhibit. If you'd like to host the traveling exhibit, you can find information about the Tate exhibit there as well. And last week on Thursday, we launched the virtual version of the Tate exhibit, so you can find a link there as well.
You can always come visit us in Dearborn. Come see the exhibitry on site.
Yeah, we're 21400 Oakwood Boulevard in Dearborn, Michigan.
Excellent. That's a great way to end it. I appreciate you all taking the time to share more about the Achievement exhibit. Thanks a lot.
Thanks,
you.
Brian.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm really afraid I'm going to drop this thing and break it.
Yeah.